If you asked most Americans what Tesla sells, they would say cars. And they would be right. But something strange is happening inside this company, and almost nobody is talking about it. While the world is still debating the Cybertruck and waiting for the next Model Y refresh, Tesla is quietly building one of the most important energy businesses on the planet. And in some ways, it is already growing faster than the car business ever did. That is not a headline from a Tesla fan account. That is not a stock tip. That is just what the numbers say when you actually look at them. So let us look at them. Part 1. The company everyone thinks they understand. Tesla went public in 2010. For most of the next decade, it was the electric car company. The one that was going to kill gasoline. The one that was going to make every other automaker look like they were building horse carriages. And in many ways, that story came true. The Model S, the Model 3, the Model Y. By 2023, Tesla was delivering nearly 2 million vehicles a year. It was one of the most valuable companies in the world. The brand became synonymous with electric vehicles the same way Kleenex became synonymous with tissues. But in 2024, something shifted. Tesla delivered 1,789,226 vehicles. That was actually 1.1% fewer than the year before. For a company that had been growing deliveries at double digits for years, that was a cold splash of water. The EV market was not exploding the way everyone had predicted. Range anxiety, charging infrastructure, price sensitivity, all of it was creating friction that Wall Street had not fully priced in. Meanwhile, inside the same company, a completely different story was unfolding. A business that most people barely knew existed was growing at nearly 50% per year, and it was more profitable than selling cars. Part 2. The business hiding in plain sight. Tesla Energy is not new. The company has been selling batteries for homes and businesses for years. You might have seen a Powerwall advertised somewhere, but the product that is changing everything is not the Powerwall. It is the Megapack. A single Megapack unit stores approximately 3.9 megawatt-hours of electricity. To put that in perspective, the average American home uses about 10 kilowatt-hours per day. One Megapack can power roughly 400 homes for a full day. Now imagine stacking hundreds of those units together on a piece of land the size of a city block. That is what a utility-scale battery storage facility looks like, and utilities around the world are ordering them as fast as Tesla can build them. The Megapack is not a gadget. It is not a consumer product. It is industrial infrastructure. It belongs in the same category as power plants and transmission lines, and that is exactly why it is becoming so valuable. Because the electric grid, the system that powers literally everything in modern life, is going through the most significant transformation it has experienced in 100 years. Part 3. The numbers that do not fit the old Tesla story. Here is where the story gets genuinely interesting. In 2024, Tesla deployed 31.4 gigawatt-hours of energy storage. In 2025, that number jumped to 46.7 gigawatt-hours. That is a 49% increase in a single year. In the third quarter of 2025 alone, Tesla deployed 12.5 gigawatt-hours of storage. That single quarter represented more than an 80% increase compared to the same period the year before. Revenue from the energy division reached $3.4 billion in the third quarter of 2025. For the full year of 2024, energy revenue crossed $7 billion, and the growth rate has been running between 44 and 52% year over year. Compare that to automotive revenue, which grew at roughly 12% in the same period. Now, here is the number that really stops you in your tracks. The gross margin on Tesla's energy business is approximately 29 to 30%. That is roughly twice the margin on selling cars. Tesla is making more profit per dollar of energy revenue than it makes per dollar of car revenue. The energy division's gross profit grew 266% in a single quarter, while revenue grew 40%. That kind of leverage does not happen by accident. It happens when you have scaled manufacturing, real demand, and almost no competition that can match your cost structure. Energy storage is now between 12 and 13% of Tesla's total revenue. That share has doubled since 2023. It is still smaller than the car business, but it is growing more than 4 times faster. Part 4. Why the world suddenly needs more storage. To understand why Megapack demand is exploding, you have to understand what is happening to electricity right now. For most of the 20th century, the grid worked on a simple principle. You burn fuel, you generate electricity, you send it to homes and businesses. Demand goes up, you spin up another turbine. Demand goes down, you throttle back. The grid was dispatchable. You could control it. Renewables broke that model. Solar panels produce electricity when the sun is shining. Wind turbines produce electricity when the wind is blowing. Neither of those things happens on a schedule that matches when people need power. So you end up with a strange problem. Sometimes you have too much electricity and nowhere to put it. Other times you have too little and the grid gets stressed. The solution to both problems is the same thing: storage. Big batteries that can absorb excess power when supply is high and release it when demand spikes. This was already driving significant storage demand before 2023, but then something happened that changed the scale of the problem entirely. Artificial intelligence. Data centers have always used a lot of electricity, but the new generation of AI infrastructure requires a fundamentally different level of power. Data center electricity use surged 17% in 2025. AI-focused data centers climbed even faster. By 2030, data center electricity consumption in the United States is projected to double, going from 4% of total U.S. electricity demand to somewhere between 9 and 12%. To put that number in human terms, the current data center electricity load in America is roughly equivalent to the entire electricity consumption of Pakistan. These facilities need power that is reliable, clean, and available around the clock. Battery storage systems located on site or nearby are becoming essential components of next-generation AI infrastructure. This is not a trend that can be reversed. The data centers are being built. The power demand is real, and the storage market is going to keep growing whether Tesla is in it or not. Part 5. Why utilities keep buying Megapacks. Let us talk about why a utility company actually writes a check for a Megapack installation. Because it is not charity. It is not green marketing. It is pure economics. The most straightforward use case is called energy arbitrage. Electricity prices fluctuate throughout the day. During low-demand hours, typically overnight, wholesale electricity can cost very little. During peak hours, mid-afternoon on a hot summer day, prices can spike dramatically. A battery system can charge itself during cheap hours and discharge during expensive hours. The difference in price is pure profit for the operator. Beyond arbitrage, storage systems paired with solar or wind generation allow utilities to deliver renewable power on a schedule that actually matches demand. Instead of telling a grid operator that your solar farm only works when the sun is out, you can now say you have reliable power from 8 in the morning until 10 at night. That changes the economics of the entire renewable project. Consider what happened in Texas. The Electric Reliability Council of Texas, the grid operator for most of the state, purchased a Megapack installation for approximately $750 million. Their projected savings from that single purchase in 2025 alone is approximately $1 billion. You read that correctly. they spent $750 million and saved $1 billion in a single year. That is the kind of return on investment that makes every other utility in the country pick up the phone. In Canada, a company called St. John Energy operates a much smaller installation. Their annual savings are around $200,000 per year. Over the 15-year life cycle of the system, that adds up to $3 million in savings from a single modest Megapack deployment. And in the United States, utilities also benefit from federal tax credits that reduce the effective cost of battery storage by roughly 50%. So in many cases, a utility is paying half price for a system that starts generating economic returns immediately. This is why Tesla's order backlog keeps growing. This is why deployments hit a record in the fourth quarter of 2025 at 14.2 gigawatt-hours in a single quarter. The customers are not buying because they like Tesla. They are buying because the math is undeniable. Part 6. What Tesla has built and why it is hard to replicate. Tesla currently produces Megapacks at its factory in Lathrop, California, at a rate of 10,000 units per year. That translates to approximately 40 gigawatt-hours of annual production capacity from that single facility. In early 2025, Tesla also ramped up production at a second factory in Shanghai, adding further capacity. Tesla holds 15% of the global battery energy storage market, making it the #1 integrator for the second consecutive year. In North America specifically, that share jumps to 39%. Its nearest competitor, a Chinese company called Sungrow, holds about 10% of the North American market. That means Tesla has nearly 4 times the market share of its closest rival on its home turf. The Megapack uses lithium iron phosphate batteries, a chemistry that is cheaper to produce and lasts longer than the lithium-ion chemistry used in most electric vehicles. The system is fully integrated, meaning the batteries, inverter, and cooling system all come in one unit. That makes installation faster and reduces the number of things that can go wrong. For a utility that is building critical infrastructure, simplicity and reliability are worth paying for. Now, here is the question worth sitting with. What happens if this business keeps growing at 40 to 50% per year for the next several years? At current trajectory, analyst projections suggest Tesla's energy revenue could reach $18.3 billion by 2026. That would put it at roughly 20% of total Tesla revenue. At that point, calling Tesla an auto company starts to feel like calling Apple a computer company. Part 7. The skepticism, because it belongs here. None of this means the path forward is guaranteed. Tesla's lead in the global storage market is narrowing. Sungrow and other Chinese manufacturers have the ability to produce batteries at lower cost due to their supply chain advantages. Tesla's global market share advantage over Sungrow shrank from 4 percentage points in 2023 to just 1 percentage point in 2024. If that trend continues, Tesla could lose its top position in the global rankings even while growing in absolute terms. There are also battery supply chain questions. The raw materials for lithium iron phosphate batteries, including lithium and iron, are subject to geopolitical pressures and price volatility. A supply disruption could slow production exactly when demand is accelerating. Regulatory risk is real as well. The federal tax credits that make Megapack economics so attractive to U.S. utilities could be altered by future legislation. If that incentive changes, some utility purchases could be delayed or reduced in scale. And perhaps most importantly, Tesla is still, by a wide margin, an automotive company. Cars represent approximately 87% of total revenue. The energy story is compelling, but it has not yet displaced the core business, and it may not for many years, if ever. 87 cents of every Tesla dollar still comes from selling vehicles. The energy business is growing faster, but from a much smaller base. These two facts can both be true at the same time. So here is the question worth asking yourself, and I genuinely want to know what you think in the comments below. If the energy storage market keeps growing at double digits for the next decade, and if AI data centers keep consuming more power than anyone predicted 2 years ago, at what point does the label on this company stop making sense? When does a car company become an energy company? And does it even matter what we call it, as long as the transformation keeps happening? Part 8. The realization. Tesla may continue selling millions of vehicles for years to come. The Model Y will still be one of the best-selling cars on Earth. The Cybertruck will still be polarizing. Full self-driving will still be a few years away, always. But something is changing inside this company that does not show up in car reviews or delivery reports. The fastest-growing part of Tesla is not a vehicle. It is a box, a very large, very expensive, very profitable box that stores electricity and sits quietly on a concrete pad somewhere in California or Texas or Queensland, making money every hour of every day, regardless of whether anyone buys a new car. The world is building more renewable energy than ever before. It is also building more AI infrastructure than anyone fully anticipated. Both of those things need storage. And right now, one company has built the manufacturing scale, the product, and the market position to capture a significant share of what is coming. Most people watching this video still think of Tesla as the company that made electric cars cool, and that is fair. That story is real. But while everyone was watching the cars, something else was being built. Quietly, at scale, and the numbers are starting to show it. For more on the stories that most people are not paying attention to yet, make sure you are subscribed, because the next surprise in this industry is probably already happening, and you do not want to be the last one to figure it out.